hometown that I favor, that old place down the long road that I'm traveling to. There's the jokes at the barber, told by Cleve from the hardware, about the stories that always make the news. Our town, wherever I may roam, I'll always have a place that I call home. Our town, it's very plain to see, there'll always be a part of you in me.
Around the turn of the century, Renfrew was a thriving, bustling center for the mid-Ottawa Valley lumber industry. Boisterous shantymen, lumberjacks, and river drivers mingled with local farmers and turned the small community into a rip-roaring frontier town on Saturday nights.
G'day, g'day. That's a very familiar greeting in these parts. I'm Barry Penhale here in the Upper Ottawa Valley. The story of Renfrew, Ontario is the story of early Canadian lumbering. It's also the story of the town's main street, the Opeongo Road. The Opeongo was put through these parts as an early colonization road to lure settlers to the area. And these homesteaders very quickly discovered that pioneering in this area was a tough lot. This is the land of Big Joe Mufferaw, of Charlotte Whitten, and M.J. O'Brien. The Renfrew story is their story.
Well, we came on the Opeongo Road, carrying our dreams upon our load, to a land of peace and hope, our new life, our freedom home. Valley harvest we did grow, Renfrew County seeds to sow, all along the Opeongo Road.
As a means of opening up the interior of Ontario in the mid-1800s, the government sponsored 3 colonization roads in the province. One of these was the Opeongo Road. It extended through the valley from the Ottawa River for 90 miles, but was never completed to its planned terminus of Georgian Bay. The importance of the Opeongo can never be minimized. Homesteader, merchant, lumberman, and politician all traveled it, and most arrived at or passed through the town of Renfrew. The offer of free land and unparalleled beauty drew many settlers from Great Britain, Poland, and Old World countries. Except for a few pockets of workable land, the surrounding area was not singled out for its rich soil. Before too long, abandoned farmsteads with rusting farm machinery bore mute testimony to the trials and heartbreaks of trying to eke out a living off a difficult land. The poorness of the soil was offset by the abundant richness of the forest, and lumbering became the prime source of employment and revenue in the area. Fortunes were made, and the term Lumber King became synonymous with the Ottawa Valley and Renfrew County. The Opeongo Road followed the watersheds of the Bone Shear River, and where they crossed, a settlement began. In 1855, Sir Francis Hincks, Premier of the province, donated land for the erection of a grist mill. The town, by the river, and the road were developed as a supply depot for the lumbering industry. Later, as some of the European artisans gave up their farms and turned to their trades in town, it became a manufacturing center. Second Chute, as it was then called, was aptly named because a chute is the wooden slide built beside a waterfall, down which a section of raft called a crib can slide. Without a chute, there would be no logs to float in the giant Ottawa river booms. Those who made their fortunes out of lumber had a remarkable social conscience. Families such as the Barnetts, the Carswells, the McFaddens, and the Austins. These families returned as much, if not more, than they took out of lumbering. Renfrew has a richness of philanthropic and public-spirited citizens, past and present.
The town was very, very busy when the log drive came down. And because all the shantymen came to Renfrew and stayed here for a few days. When the river drivers brought the logs down, the cook came first. And he set up his kitchen at Clear Point and cooked beans and bread in the sand. And I do know that some of the boys from school played hooky and came down to the Clear Point for an early morning breakfast with the shantymen. These were the days when the town was full of strangers and everybody, I think, celebrated when the drive came down. I was told that they were very colorful and that they spent their last cent in Renfrew. I think one of the boys who played hooky was my husband, because that's where I heard all of their stories.
The story was that the Bonshire was supposed to be what they call a quiet river. It didn't have the dangerous falls and rapids that the Madawaska and the Petawawa had. The Madawaska was a very rough river to drive, I'm told, and they had miles of rapids and they had waterfalls and so on. But the Bonshire was a quiet river, and they had very few bad places to negotiate. For that reason, they bought a lot of square timber down the Bonshire.
I was born in 1894. Figure it out for yourself. I was 11 years old when my family came to Renfrew, and I attended the collegiate. And I taught school I went to Ottawa Normal School and taught for about 4 years when I married.
I came to Renfrew back in the horse and cutter days when the Depression was going on. Things were pretty tough in Renfrew, but we got by. Renfrew was a good town. I always liked Renfrew.
While the heyday of lumbering in the Ottawa Valley, and especially Renfrew County, is but a memory, the contributions the giants of the industry made to their town and nation will live on, as long as the stories of great forests and brave men are told. Renfrew today is a pleasant mix of the old and the new. Tradition is important to the residents as they cherish their swinging bridge, gracious homes, and long-established cultural mosaic. The new bridge is a legacy of the early history of the town when the economy was based on its riverside industries. The wire bridge was constructed to serve the workers of the mills on the south side of the river and the residents on the north side. It is one of the few suspension footbridges to be found in Canada. The new swinging bridge, which replaced the original, keeps the history of the past in the minds of the present. In 1895, at the foot of Main Street, ingenuity and determination led to the construction of this wire bridge. What has become a tourist and historic point of interest was once the linchpin for the local mill employees. When the shift ended in the mills, upwards of 25 people at a time would use the bridge to cross over the Bon Cher River to the town. One of the most powerful figures in Renfrew itself was Michael John O'Brien. MJ made his fortune in mining and manufacturing, but it was the railroad which established his niche in the town's history. Coming to the area in 1879, during the construction of the Kingston and Pembroke Railway, known as the Kick and Push, he met his future wife Jane Barry of Calabogie, who had a profound influence on his decision to establish roots in the community. Following their marriage in 1883, they settled in Renfrew and raised a family of 7. In addition to bringing industry and spurring the economy, M.J. O'Brien sensed the lack of adequate facilities for music, the theater, and the arts. O'Brien's Opera House was a remarkable mecca for some of the biggest stars, orchestras, and theatrical presentations touring at the time.
They brought the Opera Florodora, they brought Faust, they brought the Bohemian Girl. Those were all real high-class operas, and a little place like Renfrew, imagine getting those.
Whenever the history of the National Hockey League is written, the team known as Renfrew Millionaires is singled out as one of the finest collection of pre-NHL hockey players ever to be assembled. Stars such as Frank and Lester Patrick, Fred Taylor and Newsy Lalonde made it to the NHL, and Bert Lindsay, who finished his career with the Toronto Maple Leafs, had his name perpetuated by his son, the rough and tumble Ted Lindsay of Detroit Red Wings fame. As a young girl, Charlotte Whitten played hockey with the intensity of a pro and went on to a political career as the celebrated mayor of Ottawa. Not as well known to outsiders is Constable Barney McDermott, a man to be reckoned with. Fearless Barney would just as soon arrest a prominent citizen for a civic misdemeanor as he would cart drunks to jail in a wheelbarrow. Much of Renfrew's past was captured for future historians by photographer A.L. Hanford, who had his studio in the downtown core. Raglan Street is a street of long and vivid memories. What began as a mud road with wooden sidewalks has given way to a modern thoroughfare. The roaring years of lumbering have been captured in the town's architecture. The solid, impressive buildings are a tribute to the craftsmen of the time.
It adds so much to a town to have some of these old buildings preserved. We can't have the future without the past, and I think we have to build on the past. And some of these buildings are so different and it adds to the whole atmosphere of the town to preserve these buildings. J. O'Brien liked to sit in his back porch and watch the trains go by as he was in his later years.
While Renfrew will never be able to shake its identity with the glory years of lumbering, it has a distinction which sets it apart from other Ontario locations. Since the 1890s, it has been known as the Creamery town. The Renfrew Creamery is the largest in Canada and has set the hallmark for others to follow. A large part of the creamery's fame is due to the excellent dairy herds of the county, which supply the raw product which becomes Renfrew butter, known for its excellence. The surrounding county is full of legend and lore. The Ottawa Valley possesses some of the most colorful folklore of our nation. Stories of Big Joe Mufferaw and Pat Malone. Lumber barons such as the Gillies family, T.R. Lowe and J.R. Booth. One story which is fact, not fiction, is the discovery of Champlain's astrolabe by 14-year-old Edward George Lee in 1867 near Cobden. Champlain recorded the loss of the navigation tool in his diary, and Lee was promised the princely sum of $10 for it. But as he said, "I never got a farthing, nor saw hide nor hair of it since they took it away." There are fall fairs and there are fall fairs, but there is only one Renfrew Fall Fair. Ever since it began in 1850, it has drawn the best in livestock, farm equipment, competitions, and home crafts from around the county and beyond. early days, it was not uncommon to see some high-spirited young bucks racing their horses down the main street. When they tired of that, they would sometimes settle their disputes with a wild and woolly brawl. It is all part of an annual event eagerly looked forward to by the residents and out-of-town visitors, who always find something different at the fair. Renfrew fondly remembers its past and the colorful people who helped shape its character. It is a town of the future, as it looks forward with confidence and anticipation.
Oh, Renfrew is the prettiest town in the valley. It's not a big town, but I think we're a close town. I think we all know each other, at least most of us do, and we like to work with each other. It's wonderful to go up the street and meet people and call them by name and ask them how they are. At least that's the way I enjoy. I make a trip up the street every week just to meet the people.
I'll see the folks up on Main Street who will always take the time for a story over coffee at the old Five and Dime. The flag on our town hall through the years has flown free, a tribute to our hometown's history. Our town, wherever I may roam, I'll always have a place that I call home. It's very plain to see there'll always be a part of you in me. There'll always be a part of you in me. There'll always be a part of you.